University of Notre Dame proudly presents its marching band, the Band of the Fighting Irish.
Yes, it's that time of the week again where we take a look at the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame were not in action this weekend, but they were waiting in the long grass to see who would emerge as potential opponents in the Bowl semi-final. And Len Clark joins me on the line, and I believe you will have a guest for us shortly.
We do have a guest on the line, Declan, but right now I'm at the Guglielmino Athletic Complex at the University of Notre Dame, where the media is gathering with the University of Notre Dame to watch the NCAA College Football Playoff Host Selection Show. It's going to begin in just a few minutes. A lot of speculation where Notre Dame might be playing right now. We know that they're probably going to be in, but we'll let you know in just a couple of minutes. So it's a great time to introduce our guest, Mr. Jim Bertrand, who is on the line with us from the state of Georgia, just outside Atlanta. And so, Declan, he is a father of a Notre Dame recruit that is coming to play for the Fighting Irish, but he has a special connection to your part of the world.
Jim, welcome to the programme.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, Jim, I believe you played rugby over here. Is that correct?
Yes, we were fortunate enough to spend a number of years in Dublin, and actually we lived in Greystones, and we were fortunate enough to go to Blackrock College.
Okay, so you played for the Blackrock College schools team?
Yes, sir. I was fortunate enough to play one JCT team with one JCT Cup team, and 3 senior cup teams.
Okay, and what was your position?
I was a lock, number 8 and number 7, back and forth.
Okay, so you were in the back row.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now so when you returned to the States, you got involved with American football, did you?
We did. In my case, I went down to University of San Diego, and then actually I helped coach some of the rugby teams there.
Okay.
At college, and then my son actually got involved in the football side of it pretty big. A couple of my sons.
Okay, and one of your sons, I believe, is he in the Notre Dame Greater Squad?
Yeah, so he's actually a commit for next year.
Oh, brilliant!
Class of 2019, and he's we're out of Atlanta, Georgia, and he will be coming there on next. Actually, they'll start in June of next year.
So obviously he wanted to play football because he saw NFL, and of course Atlanta has a franchise.
Correct. He loves that. He also has been back and forth to Dublin many times and has a great connection with Blackrock and a number of our friends over there, and loves the tradition of Ireland and obviously Notre Dame in that tradition too.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because we've been covering the Notre Dame season from the start with Len on this slot, going back to like week 1 of the season, and it's our intention to cover Notre Dame in the run up to the big game in Dublin in 2020.
Oh, that's exactly. We're very excited. A lot of back and forth with a lot of friends talking about that recently. We are very excited here in the States about that.
So hopefully you'll be coming over for it.
Absolutely, 100%. We're looking forward to it.
Well, hopefully we can arrange to meet up with yourself and Len, and we might do a little piece for the program.
Would love to. Thank you.
Great stuff.
I'll jump in here right now. The selection show is just beginning here. Members of the media are gathering here at the Guglielmino Athletic Complex, and in just a few minutes they're going to announce. So we'll kind of speculate what's going on. So last week we had the top 4 teams: the University of Alabama at number 1, Clemson number 2, the Fighting Irish number 3, and at the time it was the University of Michigan at number 4. But Michigan lost to Ohio State, so that changed up things. In Georgia, at midweek, became the number 4 team in the country. But yesterday, number 1 Alabama played Georgia for the SEC conference tournament. Georgia lost. So the big thing right now is who is going to be the number 4 team in the country. Right now, the way that Oklahoma played yesterday against Texas, they are speculated to be in as the number 4 team. But what really is the interesting thing right now is that Alabama, the number 1 team in the country, can choose their venue of where they want to play. So right now, is Notre Dame going to play down in Miami, or are they going to go to Dallas? And we're going to probably know in the next 15 minutes or so, but that gives us something to talk about. And Jim, in talking with you as well, you're down there in SEC country. Where do you think Alabama would like to play?
My gut is that they would like to play down in Miami, given it's, again, it's not that hard to get there from Birmingham. People can drive over. But again, you never know. But my gut is it's going to be Miami.
And then, especially in that Dallas area, you're not too far from the University of Oklahoma, and Oklahoma just played there last week down in the Dallas area. So we'll find out. But Declan, it's really interesting. It could have been really more interesting if Alabama would have lost yesterday. So the big thing right now for Fighting Irish fans, we know they are going to be one of the top 4 teams. But right now, it's where they're going to play. Is it going to be December 28th or 29th? But the one date they really want to play is January 7th, 2019 in Santa Clara, California for the NCAA College Football National Championship.
Is it predetermined, like, are Notre Dame guaranteed to play Clemson, or is that still up for grabs?
It depends on where the draw is right now, but based off of all the polls and all the speculation from the pundits, Clemson went undefeated. So last week they were number 2. Notre Dame was number 3, and so there was really nothing that changed in the top 3 spots. And, how could you penalize Notre Dame for not playing yesterday? That's one of the things that people are saying about Notre Dame, because they didn't play for a conference championship. Maybe they could drop down to number 4. But we do know solidly, I would say with 99% accuracy, that it's going to be Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, the top 3. It's just that number 4 spot. But the way that Oklahoma played yesterday, is it going to be Oklahoma or is it going to be Ohio State? But then one thing, and Jim, bringing you back in the conversation, you've got a team in the University of Central Florida that has gone undefeated for the 2nd straight year. I know they lost their quarterback, but that's going to be disheartening to go undefeated and not be able to be on the national stage.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Actually, we have a player from our high school that JD played with that's plays on that team from University of Central Florida. They definitely excited to see, and they think they would definitely be in the top 4. Probably not, though, given their strength of schedule, is my gut.
That's the big key, Declan, is that University of Central Florida does not play in one of the Power 5 conferences. And so the real question is, do you bring in a Georgia with a 2-loss season ahead of a Central Florida? Because right now they're also going to be determining where teams are going to be playing in terms of the bowls, who's going to be playing in the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl and the other bowls that are out there.
There's how many bowls? There's at least 10 bowls, isn't there?
Well, when Jim and I were a kid, we had maybe 10. But Jim, how many are now? About 60?
Oh, 60,
yeah,
okay.
Probably, yeah. You'll start in another week, and it'll go all the way through to the first week in January.
So there's a chewing gum bowl and a cookie bowl and a...
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's a lot of bowls.
Yeah, we know about the Orange Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, and there's a few others, isn't there? The famous ones, they've all been played for. The Rose Bowl's a venue, isn't it?
Yeah, the venues is out in Pasadena, California.
Yeah.
And it's usually the Pac-12 champion taking on the Big Ten champion. But in terms of the national championship picture, I know there's probably not going to be a big team in that factor right now, or a Pac-12 team. But that could have shaken it up. And Notre Dame, possibly a couple of years ago, could have played in the Rose Bowl. But everything has changed. The way things used to be are not the same as they are today. And, there's a lot of talk about the college football playoffs. It is not a perfect system. And as you said, there are teams that have better records that might not get into the top 4 spots. But the big thing is for the University of Notre Dame is that they have accomplished their goal. They have gone undefeated, and they are going to vie for a national championship. Now, if they go up a spot, they're still going to play at the same venue, because number 4 plays number 1, and number 2 plays number 3. So it's going to be interesting. We're actually with the media right now. We have the television in front of us. We're watching it, but they're probably not going to make that announcement in just a few seconds. But let's bring Jim back in the conversation. And Declan, we've talked about it for a long time. You're seeing a lot of individuals from Europe and Australia coming over to play college football, and now with the games being played over at Dublin, it's becoming more of an international sport, and it would be great to see a lot of the players who play rugby at Terranura and Black Rock and the other schools around Dublin have a chance to come to the United States to play American football.
Yeah, we've seen a number of kids over the years come over. We definitely have communication back and forth for the group in Ireland. I think that would be a great opportunity, and especially on the punting side and the kicking side, they've got such great feet and great skill set there, which is definitely something we'll be looking forward to.
Well, I mean, I know from the other side that there's liaison between the NFL and the United States Rugby Federation, and indeed there's a professional rugby league, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to target kids who don't make the draft to the NFL and get them to adapt and play rugby. And that's the long-term plan. Now, what that does is that provides a sporting outlet for kids who may have had dreams of playing in a Super Bowl, and maybe they'll get an opportunity to play for their country at a World Cup if everything goes swimmingly for them in the other version of the game.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great thing to have happen.
So that professional league is up and running at the moment. I think there's something like 7 or 8 franchises up and running in it, and apparently, as I said, the shareholders are the NFL and the Rugby Federation.
Wow, fantastic.
But that could be a possibility down the road. But the one thing that you can't teach is size and speed, and just watching the game of rugby, you can take and translate that over to a skill game like American football. But once again, as Declan, as I said, was gathered in front of the television right now. They have reporters from ESPN scattered around the country at the various 4 schools, 5 schools possibly, that are going to be projected to be in the top 4 spots. We'll be meeting with the University of Notre Dame players about an hour after the selection show, and then Coach Brian Kelly at 2 o'clock Eastern time this afternoon. Talk about that. But it's got to be exciting from a parent's perspective, from especially Jim Bertrand, his son, coming in. One of the best recruiting classes in the country, and a chance to play for a team that is playing for the national championship. So, Jim, just kind of tell us about the recruiting process to give the individuals in Dublin an insight as to how big this game is and how competitive it is to seek individuals like your son.
I think you're right. My son's blessed. He's been recruited by a number of different teams. I think 16 or 17. But it's such a I guess the best way of saying it, his phone blows up on a weekly basis with coaches asking to come over here and talk to the school. And the recruiting from each of the conferences, each coach has a certain number that they want to hit. But one of the nice things about Notre Dame is the coaching staff is very sincere, and they go after it in a nice way, and asking from not only from an academic perspective, but from an all-around perspective of the school, having you come in there and make sure if you come up and visit the school, you definitely get to know the coach and the staff and the academic advisors and the teachers. And I think that's a big thing. Some of the other schools are a little bit different. It's all about football, and maybe education might take a lower piece of the puzzle. But I think one of the best things that JD, my son, likes, and myself and my wife, is that it's the whole picture. And one of the other nice perspectives of it, when you go to Notre Dame, one of the things they tell you, it's not a 4-year education, it's a 40-year education. And you'll be here for 40 more years, and we'll be working with you, and the network is very strong. Some similar to Black Rock College. As you get out of Black Rock, I still have very good friends. I communicate on a weekly or every other week basis with a number of different alumni over there. So it's got that same feel, if that makes sense.
Jim, as you probably know, Black Rock College is a senior rugby club that plays in the National League over here.
Yes.
And the facilities at Stradbrook are also being shared by a soccer team who play in the National League here as well.
Oh, is that right?
Cabinteely FC have been tenants of Black Rock College since they moved into the Soccer League of Ireland. And indeed, Black Rock College rugby team had a few financial issues a few years ago, and they started paying players. And the rent that the soccer club is generated for them has enabled them to upgrade the facilities, and they've now got floodlights.
I did not know that. That's fantastic. Wow.
So there's been a great relationship between soccer and rugby over here over the years. Each has helped the other out, and that's an example of soccer helping out rugby, whereas a lot of the time rugby has been helping soccer out by providing facilities and what have you.
Right. Well, it's interesting you say that, because down here in Atlanta, we'll be holding the Super Bowl here in this new stadium called the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and we also have a soccer team.
Yeah, Atlanta United.
Right, and they've made the finals, and they're playing in there a week from, this coming Saturday night.
Wow.
So they kind of do the same exact thing.
Is this their second season in the MLS, Jim, is it?
Yes, I think so. I think you are absolutely correct.
That's a phenomenal achievement to get to the national final in only year 2. That's a phenomenal achievement.
Yeah. And I can tell you this, the crowds are fantastic there. They almost, it's almost a sellout. It's just amazing what happens. The town and everybody gets around it. It's a big deal. Soccer has really boomed, and they share that with the football stadium, obviously, and for the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, and that's a great use of the stadium, because there wouldn't be too many crossover weekends. Like the soccer season starts in the spring, and the football guys don't get busy till August, September.
Right, exactly, which is great. It's fantastic. It's a great thing.
Well, Doug, it's just amazing how sport can actually shrink the size of the world. You have so much in common with Jim, and Jim definitely knows what's going on in Dublin in terms of the athletic makeup and just about what's going on over in Ireland. But that makes it so exciting here on Dublin City FM is that in the next 2 years, Notre Dame will be playing in Dublin at Viva Stadium, playing the United States Naval Academy, and so we're going to have to keep him in the loop just to kind of inform fans in Dublin that are just getting used to college football and giving them an idea of what they should be looking for. And exactly when we first started talking, you talked about how you learned to tailgate by going to that first Notre Dame game back in 2012.
Yeah, there was a tailgate parties organised in a few of the local bars around the stadium for people who didn't have tickets for games, and I went to one of those tailgate parties, and it was quite fun. And there was a lot of American people who were actually at the tailgate parties who'd come over but hadn't got tickets.
So if we put our three hits together, I think we can come up with a unique fan experience for individuals coming over to watch Jim's son, who will be on the team in the next year, and just to keep riding on this great relationship between the country of Ireland, this city of Dublin, and the University of Notre Dame, which seems to be growing and growing. I know it has a lot to do with the On the Ball program.
Well, let's hope this can continue. All right, and the fact that Jim has spent some time here and stuff like that, it'll be really special to see his boy playing in the Aviva.
Yeah, he's definitely he's excited. Hopefully it'll all work out. And but again, very excited. We're excited and can't wait to be over in Ireland again in 2 years. So that's a great thing.
And Declan, they're still, doing the pre-talk, if you will, before the actual selection.
Yeah, I was going to make a slight paper reference, Len. I was going to ask you, was there any white smoke?
No, not yet. But that's a good analogy. But it's kind of like a regular in baseball, is that you have to kind of filibuster and fill up that time. But they're going to be announcing it very soon. But it's kind of an exciting day. The whole Notre Dame team is gathered in the other room. We're in a room, we're actually the practice facility, just off the big meeting room in the Guglielmino. And so once this selection has been made, then we'll have the opportunity to go over and talk to a couple of players. We'll be talking to defensive back Julian Love and Drew Tranquil, a linebacker, as well as Ian Book, and then Coach Brian Kelly and Sam Mustard also. So a lot of the captains coming in and talking. So I have to go back to Jim one more time and say, Jim, are you kind of excited now knowing that your son's going to Notre Dame and they're on the chance to play for a national championship?
Oh yeah, we are so excited. There is no doubt. We had a game on Friday night, finished that game off, and then he came in yesterday, finished his application off last night around midnight, sent it into Notre Dame so he can get that in on time. But as a family, we're all excited. My folks are excited. My in-laws to watch the game and excited for Notre Dame overall. So it's a great experience, and like I said earlier, we're blessed to be even part of it and just to watch it here.
Jim,
and Declan, what's even funnier is that he is in the heart of SEC country, not too far away from the University of Georgia. So there's all that red Georgia and Alabama colors, and then there's the blue and gold and the green of the Fighting Irish. And Jim probably stands out down there in this area.
Yeah, I was going to ask Jim what his own college background was.
Yeah, no, a great question. I actually, after leaving Dublin, Ireland in 1981, we went over to Southern California.
Okay.
And I ended up at a Catholic school over there called University of San Diego, and ended up actually coaching some of the rugby team there, and then I rode crew over there for them. So it's a great experience.
Well, here's a bizarre connection with the University of San Diego. My alumni is University College Dublin, and we used to regularly do tours and play other universities in North America during the down season here, and used to regularly play San Diego on those American tours.
Is that right? Oh my gosh! Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
At soccer though, but still.
I've actually broadcast a football game for the University of San Diego.
So there you go. There's tenuous links between the three of us there.
It's amazing how that works.
And Jim Harbaugh, the coach at Michigan, was the football coach at the University of San Diego. His first college experience in coaching before he went off to the 49ers, or Stanford, I should say.
That's right. You're right. Exactly. And that's exactly right. Yeah, great school, great college, small school. Again, somewhat like Notre Dame, but not as prestigious, but same kind of 8,000 students, which is very nice. You know, it was very nice.
And I'm also a hockey fan, and San Diego has the Sharks.
Oh yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, so that's. I don't think there's a lot of hockey in Dublin, is there? I'm not sure. Right.
We have a professional hockey team in Belfast. They play in the British League. They're called the Belfast Giants, and they regularly win the pennant.
Oh, is that right? Really?
The only pro ice hockey team in the country. Yeah. We used to have a couple of rinks in Dublin, but they shut down, unfortunately. So we have some amateur teams from Dublin, but they have to go up to Belfast to play their hockey.
Oh yeah, that's exactly. Well, ice time in the hockey rinks is tough, even down here in SEC football country. I mean, we've got a couple rinks around here, but there's so many kids that are into football, so there's not a lot of rinks, but there's a couple.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Atlanta used to have an NHL team called the Thrashers.
Correct. And I think they're up in Nashville now.
No, they went to Winnipeg. The Winnipeg Jets now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Winnipeg. That's right. I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah. No, but the original Winnipeg Jets got moved to Carolina, so it was kind of they were due a team back.
That's right.
I used to live in Montreal, so I'm a Canadiens fan for my pains. Although they did win last night.
Okay. That's fantastic.
That's where I kind of learned about American football, because we used to see college and NFL football on TV, thanks to cable. We're talking back in the 60s, though, Jim, you know?
Okay, yeah. Well, I do know, I mean, they do obviously put it on TV a lot over there, because I know a couple of my buddies watch it.
Oh, yeah. In fact, there was a British channel in the 80s called Channel 4 that got the UK and Ireland rights to show NFL football, and did so from the early 80s, from the time they started, for about 10 or 15 years, and now BBC is showing highlight packages. So yeah, the NFL's quite popular over here.
Wow, that's fantastic.
In fact, every year they play a couple of regular season games in London.
Yes, that's exactly right. Exactly, yeah, absolutely. Well, and the rugby's doing great. I mean, fantastic with the All Black win a couple weeks ago. I mean, unbelievable. Huh?
And at the World Rugby Awards recently, Jim, Ireland was voted Team of the Year, our coach was voted Coach of the Year, and our scrum half was voted Player of the Year.
I heard that, Rob. A good buddy of mine's named Robbie Brophy, right, who's connected there with some of the rugby, and obviously I follow him on Twitter. It's spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, absolutely spectacular.
No, it's great. I mean, we've a coach from New Zealand who's announced he's going to be stepping down after the World Cup, but we've got an exciting 12 months ahead of us while he's still in charge.
Yeah, that's exactly. There's a little bit of a time difference for the World Cup from Japan to Ireland, won't there be? Just like here in the U.S. Huh?
Yeah, it's going to be in and around 12 hours, maybe 10.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly. Well, Declan, that white smoke is still not appeared yet. We anticipate it in about next 8 minutes or so. I don't know if they're going to be on the air.
Unfortunately, I'm going off the air in about 6 minutes.
Okay, well...
it'll give us something to talk about next week, on next week's slot, Glenn.
Yeah, we are trying to get athletic director at Notre Dame, Jack Swarbrick, on. We've been in touch with his office, and so hopefully we'll have him on the show next week to talk about the football team as well as what's going on as far as athletics.
And if you get any reaction from the players, we can broadcast that next week.
Yes, definitely. As soon as this selection show is over, we are going to go into the next room, and we have an opportunity to talk to the captain and Coach Brian Kelly. So I will definitely send audio to you.
Yeah, we can air all those. We can air all those on next week's segment. That's not a problem at all.
Right. So it's kind of an exciting time. You have to sit back and take a deep breath and say, not many teams get a chance to play for a national championship, and so it's been since 2012 since Notre Dame's been in this situation. So we're just kind of sitting back right now and enjoying the whole experience. But there's a lot of anticipation as to where Notre Dame might play right now, because travel arrangements have to be played, and with the holiday rates right now, it could be the difference of a couple $100 or maybe a long road trip in the car. So if we have to go to Florida, Jim, we're going to have to come by for a pit stop.
Absolutely, you're always welcome. There's no doubt. Exactly, and you're right. The airfares and that will go up quickly here once it gets announced.
Now, you got to be careful. I said that over the radio now, because everybody in Dublin is going to be flying to Atlanta and saying we're going to take a pit stop at the first train stop before we head down to Miami. But Declan, it's been a magical year, especially being on the air with you and talking week to week. And the goals of Notre Dame outline were to win all the home games and to run the ball effectively. And the goal, really, if you look get back to the line is to finish undefeated. They did, and right now the payoff is going to be in the next 6 or 7 minutes to find out where they play. But it's been an exciting ride, and I want to ask you this question, but what's it been like for you to sit back and follow the Fighting Irish, to really experience this big wave and taking it all the way to the national championship now?
Well, it's the first time for me to have some kind of skin in the game, if you know what I mean. And it's been interesting from that point of view. Like, I mean, I've been, obviously keeping my fingers crossed and saying novenas for them all the way on the line, and it's clearly been working,
Exactly. It's how we've been feeling it here, is that there is a little bit of skin in the game, even though we're reporters. We have to be objective, but I do have a little bit of affinity after graduating from the University of Notre Dame. But it's the Notre Dame experience is so much different than any other college football experience, and Jim can tell you that. It's very special. And Jim, how many games have you been to? I know you probably came up for a recruiting trip with your son, but kind of tell us about the experience of you in your first game at Notre Dame Stadium.
Yeah, we were, we've been to actually 3 games. We got recruited a number of years ago when he was a sophomore in high school. Went up for the game. It was a great game. And then obviously this year we went to the Pittsburgh game, and I'm trying to think, we went to one other game. And it's fantastic as far as coming up, spending time, the atmosphere, the crowd, the walk, the players, how they walk up to the stadium beforehand with the band in front, and the crowds, and just a great experience. And then the sellout, obviously, is just amazing. They sell the whole stadium out, so it's a great experience.
Can you parlay that over to Declan and kind of summarize in 1 or 2 words of what it is to be, and what it is like to be at Notre Dame Stadium?
Declan, it's interesting. I went to the Ireland versus Italy last year with a buddy of mine, Old McNeil, and the singing and that, it's somewhat the same.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's an Irish national match, and one of the nice things about it is it's a little colder depending on when you get in there. Like the last game we went to was absolutely very cold in the 20s, but overall, the band, the atmosphere, the college students were behind it, a little bit more rambunctious as far as the college students versus a little bit some of the international rugby, but overall somewhat a similar experience. Just fantastic.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes, absolutely. And the tailgating they have before for the parents or people who in general, it's a very good thing.
Well, the big question is that you're down in Atlanta. It's going to be, are you going to try to get that home game next year?
Yeah, that's exactly. Next year it'll be interesting to see. Well, we're already looking forward to what we have to do to get up there on all the games.
Yeah, it'd be a shame to miss it'd be a shame to miss out on him playing for the Fighting Irish. Try and get to some of them anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a very exciting time, Declan, over here in the United States. There's a big crowd following for Notre Dame throughout the whole country. It's just even the last 3 weeks that my son's kind of committed to come up to Notre Dame to play, it's just amazing. And the fan base and the network of people here. It's just, and then again, it's something that we'd love to have you come over and visit here. Fantastic.
Okay, we'll have to look into doing that, folks. I'm going to have to let you go because the clock on the wall says I've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining me, Jim. Thank you so much as always, Glenn. And as I said, we hope to feature that audio from the reaction to the draw and the results of the draw on next week's segment. I'm afraid that's all we have time for on the Notre Dame segment.
All right, we'll talk to you next week. And right now, they're making the draw for the top 4 players. We'll talk to you next week, Declan.
Okay, Len. That's all we have time for on that.